Hello everyone and welcome to Big Rock Moto. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I have two favors to ask you. One, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. And two, whenever you're shopping for stuff, you can use my affiliate links. I really appreciate that. Okay, so the subject of today's video is this. This is actually, if you recognize it, my old R1300GS. So Brandon over there, who's helping me out with some projects this weekend, my riding buddy and longtime friend, he bought this bike from me about, I think, 10 months ago, so almost a year ago. So it's been almost a year since I've ridden the R1300GS, the standard one. If you saw my video series I did with this, I did a whole bunch of different projects with it and tests, and I really have to admit that personally it's one of the best motorcycles I've ever ridden or tested, and I just am kind of in love with these things. I actually have a personal preference for the standard GS as opposed to the Adventure. One, because of the looks. I think this is styled so much nicer and sleeker, and just it doesn't seem so bulky. It also feels less top heavy and less heavy in general. And I have to admit, even the triple black is really sharp looking. It's not good for video and photos because it kind of, the black isn't good for that, but it's really nice looking in person. So if we take a look at, he's left a lot of the stuff that I had. He did change the luggage racks out. I had all different setups, and I gave him all sorts of stuff. It's got Motoz GPS tires, which are kind of a nice 50/50 tire that have good road manners. He's got the Denali D7 Pros, which are a great light. Touratech crash bars, which are very nice. He's got the handguards on it still. I think these are Hepco Beckers. Touratech windshield protector. He's got the cool seat cover. It's got SW Motec racks, which are cool because they have quick release. I'll try to link this stuff below. I'll have to dig up my old affiliate links from a year ago when I was doing this project. And then he's got a Carpy Ride, the 7-inch. He loves this one. I actually gave this to him. So it's nice to be my friend because you get a lot of freebies. You get a lot of free stuff. He's got SW Motec tank bags to click on. He's got the dust cases that go on there, which are really, really kind of cool. Adjustable levers and all this stuff. He's got some slide protection. So it's a pretty cool setup. Now this bike in 2024, you couldn't get sport suspension and adaptive ride height, so it's the regular suspension, but it does have adaptive ride control. I'm thinking about getting another 1300GS for myself because I love it so much, and I'd like to have my own bike because right now I don't have any bikes of my own. I just have test bikes and things like that. But I will get a 2025 with adaptive ride height and sport suspension, which is firmer and taller, should be better off-road, should be firmer for the road as well. It does lift it up, but then with the adaptive height control, it helps keep the height within reason when you're at a stop. I'm also probably going to get spoke wheels just because of the way they look. These wheels have, seem to be fine. I don't know how they're holding up for other people. Brandon doesn't really go off-road on this bike because he has a KLX 300 for off-road. But what I want to do today is jump on this bike, take it for a spin on and off-road, and see if I love it as much as I remember, because I'm trying to decide whether I should get another one now that they've got some really good promotional deals on the 2025s with the setup that I want. And if I get one, I will get the trophy color because I think that's the best looking. I also like the green. I think the green's really pretty too. Yeah, I can feel the bike drop down when I turned it on with adaptive ride control. So he gets this fault message because the factory fog lights are not connected, so he gets this every time. And then he's got a service light because it's been a year since the break-in service, so he's due for a yearly service, so he needs to do that. Regular road ride mode, that's good. One of the best things about this bike is this electric windshield. It's so amazing. It's one of the absolute best things. I've covered this in all the GS videos. I still don't really like how they changed the controls. You lost the power button, you lost the dedicated heated grip button. There's more menu hopping to do certain things. Oh my word, this thing is so smooth. Holy moly. I'm going 60 already? Gosh, going 100 kilometers an hour, 62 miles an hour on this bike feels like I'm barely moving. It is so smooth. There's no wind, like with the windshield up, it's super quiet. Suspension rides like a cloud. The ergonomics for me are just perfection on this bike. I recently did that tour on the Goldwing. This is much more comfortable for me than something like a Goldwing just because of the seating position. Handlebars are a little bit more forward. I really like that. gosh, this bike is smooth, and I forgot we've got radar cruise control. It's got radar cruise. Oh my god, this keeps getting better. I forgot. Of course, it's got that. Man, this bike is so sweet. It's just so nice to ride. It's like feel like you're riding on a cloud. And the stability is so extreme. I mean, you can ride without your hands on the bars. Not that you should do that, but how are they so stable? Like, this is crazy. And then if I want more airflow, I just press this button and I lower my screen down. And now I get nice air to my helmet if I start to feel hot. Or I can put the screen part way up and just get a little bit of air in the top vents of my helmet if I want. Another thing I'm noticing about this GS, maybe because I got off the GS Adventure recently, is I don't feel top heavy at all. Like, I can look at that. I mean, it feels lighter than my Tenere. It feels lighter than my Tenere 700. I just can't believe how well balanced this bike is. Okay, let's go up this twisty road a little bit. This thing has so much torque. 110 foot-pounds of torque is just crazy. I love the tail lever, because when you're trail braking and stuff, the front end of the bike doesn't dive down. There's no fork dive. I see my traction control light is flashing a lot. This thing is so easy and so nice to ride quickly. Gosh. Man, the shifter works really well compared to the older GSs, like my last 1250. Dang, dude, this thing is so legitimate. Oh my god. Imagine with better road tires too. So I tested this bike once. I had it with a Dunlop Road Smart, I think, or something like that. They were like a more of a sport touring tire. Oh my god, it was like next level. I mean, these Motos tires, they give up some feel and some grip on the pavement, but probably worth it if you're going to do some dirt roads and off-road. But man, if you put road tires on this thing, it is a weapon. And of course I can go in here and I can firm up the suspension. Oh wait, I can do that separately of the ride modes, I forgot. So I can leave it in road mode. See, I test so many bikes, I get things mixed up. And then I can go, how do I change the suspension? Oh, now because you have to, yeah, you have to go into the menu thing to do that, right? Because they don't have the dedicated button like they did on the 1250. God, this bike is nice. And when you come to a stop and slow speed maneuvers, it feels so lightweight. Let's do a short off-road demo. We'll start by going through this little wash thing and then just do some dirt roads. I don't want to mess up Brandon's bike. It's not, you know, it's not my bike anymore. So, but just getting here, it already feels so well balanced. Like, they're really good for medium to like moderate off-road would be the most. They do get heavy and kind of awkward feeling when you get technical rocks, low speed. That's where they just don't work great. But like on dirt roads and gravel roads and stuff, I mean, most of it's really good. Just don't do anything crazy. That's where you kind of want to be on a Touareg or a T7 or say even something smaller preferably. But another thing that I'm kind of curious, I haven't picked this bike up in a while. Don't tell Brandon we're doing this. Don't tell Brandon we're doing this, but I want to see something. Oh my gosh, that is so nice. That doesn't fall very far, does it? I just recently picked up the Tenere 700 because actually I crashed the Tenere 700 over somewhere I'm not really supposed to be, way down in this riverbed down in there, and it was super difficult to pick up. Oh man, for a 550-pound bike, that's really easy to lift up. That's really nice. Really, really nice. Okay, let's ride a little bit. You can, when you turn the bike on, you can, because I have it in Enduro Pro, you can feel it lift up all the way to full suspension height. And you can see it's in tall mode. Because when you're in off-road mode, the adaptive ride height, it doesn't go up and down. You have to choose high or low. This bike has such good low speed balancing. Really good for slow races and stuff like that. The Enduro Pro traction control actually does a pretty good job. I wish they had more adjustment. I wish they had more levels of traction control, but the Enduro Pro is not bad. It lets you slide around a bit without getting too out of control. And then sliding the back end on the brakes like this, oh my gosh, it just feels so balanced. Yeah, this bike is a dream. It's a dream. It's kind of an engineering masterpiece, to be honest with you. I still think that this might be the best overall motorcycle that I've ever ridden or tested. It's just that good in every way. And then if you need to stop in the dirt, let me show you. I mean, look at the off-road braking. Holy shit. It's so good at stopping with the telelever and the linked brakes. The linked brakes means that if I jam on my front, it activates the rear in a perfect amount. And the bike just kind of squishes down and just stops. Really, really nice safety feature. All right, so I'm here with Brandon, the new owner of the bike. He's had the bike for just under a year, I think. I'm going to hand him the microphone, and he can talk a little bit about, what he likes about it, what he doesn't like about it, and, kind of would he buy it again. And he said to me that this is the best bike he's ever ridden or ever owned, but I want him to explain why that is. So I'm going to hand him the microphone here. Clip this on your shirt.
So this was finally that move to my dream bike. After many years owning lots of different bikes, from small bikes, middleweights, and a couple leader bikes in the adventure class, I always knew that the big GS was the one that I really wanted. But none of them quite got me until the 1300, just because this had a little bit more sportiness than the previous 1200s and 1250 had, along with just a little bit more of an aesthetic from the side that I think makes a little bit sportier. It looks a little bit narrower than the prior 1250. Now, I do think the 1300, the front end, is a little bit controversial as far as the looks. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It is what it is. But still, the entire package is fantastic. I especially like this one because I've always been a black bike guy. This one's the triple black. Plus we have the cool looking magnesium wheels. So you get some sportiness, you get lightness, you get strength all in one. And then I did buy this bike from Ian, so it was set up the way that I really liked. A lot of good features on this one. This is a pretty loaded bike. We've got, of course, your typical BMW ESA, but we also have the adaptive ride height. For me, I think the most compelling features on this bike versus the 1250, and I did look at buying a 1250, was that you had the adaptive ride height, and the way this thing lowers when you come to a stop is just amazing. Now, I'm not super short, I'm not super tall, but it is very nice to be able to flat foot one of these big bikes. And on the previous ones, it was a little bit more on the balls of my feet. Plus, you also have the power adjustable windshield and the adaptive cruise. So between those three features, I think that was worth it for me moving up to the higher price on the 1300. The 1300 motor also, the 1250 is good. You still have the massive flat low-end torque that you would on the 1250, but a little bit more top-end that you actually can feel on the 1300. Of course, you have the quick shifter. This is just kind of the all-rounder that I was always looking for, to be able to do long distances, really comfortable touring, but also still with a connectedness that you don't necessarily get out of a bigger touring bike like a Goldwing or a 1600 GTL, or even the counterpart to this, you know, a 1300 RT, which is also a great bike. But I find that for me, there's enough wind protection on this bike while still being able to get a little bit more of the breeze, which in Southern California, where it gets hot in the summer and in the spring, I think is just a little bit nicer. So as far as things that I maybe wish were a little bit better, there's nothing terrible on the bike, but I think the seat could use some improvement, especially compared to the prior 1250. You get a little bit more rake and dip here that can crowd you. Not as much cushioning as the prior bike. So I did find the previous 1250 more comfortable. So what I'd say by far the most maddening thing about owning the big GS is just the control layout. You have a million buttons, switches, of course you've got the BMW Wonder Wheel, but with the amount of stuff that they're cramming in as far as features, it gets a little bit menu heavy when you're trying to change to certain things. Now, you can program this button to control one function that you want. Right now I have it set to control the windshield, but it's quite annoying to have to go into a menu to make adjustments to the heated seat or the heated grips. And, you know, while you're riding, you just don't want to be messing around with that stuff. I do wish there was still a redundant switch for at least the heated grips. And I find the fact that the buttons and switches are not backlit, it's unexcusable at this price point. I can buy a $5,000 KTM and get backlit switches. So BMW, please give us some backlit switches, maybe another switch for the heated grips, and this would be a lot better. As far as one thing that's kind of a pro and a con, and I've always found this with the GS ESA bikes, they can feel a little bit bouncy, like the damping is a little bit soft just when you're cruising down the highway, especially if you get to undulations or like expansion joints. But at the same time, the ESA also does amazing things for the handling and ride compromise. It's quite good. So I'm willing to put up with a little bit of bounciness in the suspension for what it does otherwise. Brakes, of course, always a strong suit on the GS. The headlight, this factory headlight is actually quite good, this adaptive LED light. The wind management, I don't think there is an adventure bike that has better wind management than the GS's. It's like BMW really takes their time to get that stuff right. And I would almost swear I was on a full-fared bike sometimes when I'm cruising on the freeway with how well this all works together. I don't get any buffeting at all. Very little wind noise, especially with the windscreen in its topmost position, which again, now is electrically adjustable with the 1300. Just makes it a nice touring bike. Of course, GS's are also pretty good for 2-up. I've always found them to be stellar at that. They take weight really well. You just don't really feel much of a difference when you put more weight, luggage, a person on the back of it. So if you don't need the full-fared protection of like a 1600 GTL or a 1300 RT, for me, this is the way to go. Plus, I like the additional legroom that you get with the taller bike.
Well, only one other question. Would you buy it again?
I would absolutely buy it again. You know, these are not inexpensive bikes, but I also think it's worth the money. I've owned quite a few bikes over the years. This hands down is the best. This is the bike that I guess in my head, I always would have made if I could.
All right, well, I hope this video was useful in some way to some of you. It's kind of interesting to revisit the R1300GS after almost a year since I did the video project with it. And just riding it today and then hearing Brandon's thoughts as someone who's owned it for a year, it just reinforces everything I've thought, that I think it truly is one of the best motorcycles that I've ever ridden or tested, and it's a joy to ride in almost every situation. There are some some complaints that we both have about it, but they're not deal breaker things, and you can probably address them with some sort of aftermarket fixes and things like that. So I am planning to hopefully get another one. We'll see how it works out. There's a lot of video projects that I can do when I have a GS, and it's just a nice bike to have around. So stay tuned. Maybe I'll end up getting a new one pretty soon, but I hope this video was useful. If you want to support the channel, there's ways to do that down below. Other than that, ride safe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you out there.